The Chicago Bears schedule more top 30 visits, kind of pointing to the direction where the Chicago Bears thought process could be. Also, a new safety prospect comes up on the board for the Chicago Bears, and we'll look at some of the best tackles in this draft, not named Will Campbell. We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So the Chicago Bears have scheduled another top 30 visit. So far, the Chicago Bears, as of right now, they've met with Ashton Denty, also Josh Connerly, the tackle out of Oregon as well. And they're still scheduling more private visits with their top 30 visits as well. But seems like right now there's more guys popping up on the list. Bashard Smith, the running back there, is another guy that's popped up. Also, Texas running back Jaden Blue, and also players that Ben Johnson is planning on meeting with as well. But a new name has come up, and this is a wide receiver, though. Isaiah Bond out of Texas has scheduled a top 30 visit with the Chicago Bears. Now, if it's not, listen. The Bears are reshaping this roster under what Ben Johnson needs. And while we did add Devin Duvernay to this team, whatever happens there, we also added Olamide Zacchaeus, right, who's going to be more wide receiver. Duvernay's probably going to be more of a special teams guy. Isaiah Bond shapes up to be somebody who actually does fit in quite well with what Ben Johnson likes to do. 5'11", 180 pounds. He had 34 receptions last year for 540 yards. 5 touchdowns. It's an average of 15.9 yards per reception in that. Now, here's the thing there. If the Chicago Bears do draft a guy like Isaiah Bond, who will probably be there in the later rounds, that all but ensures that Tyler Scott is not part of the Chicago Bears' future. Now, Isaiah Bond, for what it's worth, he ran a 4.340 at the scouting combine as well. That's really good. He seemed to also improve on that on his pro day as well, which Ryan Poles was in attendance. And so, hey, listen, the interest in Isaiah Bond, it makes sense, right? When you look at a guy who's really good at catching those type of things, hey, I think also the speed that he has there, his ability once he does, his route running's really solid also. While DJ Moore is a really good yards after a completion catcher there, Rome Odunze, we'll see what he is as far as he's a really good possession wide receiver when it comes down to it. Bond would give a guy who has that home run, big playmaking ability as well. Now, again, they do have Zacchaeus here, so it means that it's not necessarily as big of a need. The size with Isaiah Bond is the biggest thing, right? 5'10", 180 pounds, right? And so with the more physical defensive tackles there, how is he going to be able to find his way there, right? He is slated to go in the second round. He is a name that's slated to go there in the second round, so rather with the 39th or the 41st pick, if Isaiah Bond's there and the Bears really do like him, they could definitely draft him. So Isaiah Bond's an interesting candidate here. Like I said, 540 yards last year in college. The year before that was with Texas. The year before that, he played with Alabama his freshman and sophomore year. We had 668 yards and 4 touchdowns his sophomore year and 220 yards his freshman year. But he's averaged 12.9, 13.9, and 15.9 yards per reception in each of his 3 years in college football. So if the Bears are looking to add more speed, more route running, a home run threat, Isaiah Bond could do that. Now, if you do draft Isaiah Bond, right, and now you have him and Zacchaeus there as your wide receiver room, I don't know what that means for Tyler Scott. Now, it could very well mean that they still want to hold on and take a look at him, but it does seem like the Chicago Bears, at least right now, may have set up a meeting and a top 30 visit with somebody who could actually be the replacement for Tyler Scott, especially when you factor in the age thing, and we'll see what's going to happen with that. But another guy that's recently popped up for the Chicago Bears, which could be looked at as the long-term Kevin Byard replacement, is Andrew Mukuba. Listen, Mukuba. That's how you pronounce Andrew Mukuba is how you pronounce that. This is a guy with Texas. Now, the Chicago Bears did go to the pro day here, which they saw Jade Barron, the cornerback there, and also Andrew Mukuba as well. And so when it comes down to it, like, this is a guy that could make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears, right? While Barron is a guy that's going to go in the first round, Mukuba is a guy that's going to go at a day 2 pick and could be there for the Chicago Bears there, especially if they want to bring in somebody who's a long-term replacement for Kevin Byard. He was a senior, 6 foot, 190 pounds. He had 5 interceptions, 6 passes deflected last year in his senior year, and 41 solo tackles, 69 total tackles when it comes down to it. So this is a guy, he played his first 3 years with Clemson, transferred over to Texas in 2024, and had a really, really solid season. So if the Bears are really looking at safety, like I do think that they should do, and a lot of other people do as well, that makes some sense there, right? So when you look at the Bears and the defense coordinator, what Dennis Allen has done here before with safeties, it could make a lot of sense, right? He fits what Dennis Allen tends to like there as well. He is a guy that kind of reminds you of Eddie Jackson also, who I know Eddie Jackson kind of went down there towards the end, but Mukuba as well is on the thinner side of things, so it is what it is. He has really solid tackling ability, but when it comes down to it, you look at somebody where Dennis Allen converted Charles Woodson from cornerback to safety, things like that. So we'll see what happens here. But overall, I think when you look at the guys that he had in New Orleans as well, Kevin Byard, he's a really good fit. I like what Kevin Byard brings, but this could be the long-term replacement for Kevin Byard. So the Bears are still working, man. The draft is still up in air. When you look at both these guys that we talked about today, Isaiah Bond as a wide receiver, Andrew Mukuba as a defensive back, whether it ends up being cornerback or whether it ends up being safety. Listen, those are some really good prospects there for the Chicago Bears, and really all eyes are on the draft. And we'll see what the future does hold if the Bears end up bringing in any of these guys. But if they do, I like it. I like what the Chicago Bears are doing here. But with that said, we know that tackle is the position that a lot of people are looking at the Chicago Bears to go on and draft. Right now, there's been talks about Will Campbell, a guy that I was really high on, and Andrew Mbow, who I kind of brought up first. It seems like there's no chance he's going to be there at number 10 anyway. And, it's great, right? I really wanted him to be a Chicago Bear, but it just reminds me that, hey, maybe my scouting eye isn't that off, right? Because some of you guys were calling me crazy for having him there and saying that the Bears were reaching at number 10. Now it seems like he's going to go between 4 and number 7, right? So, we'll see what happens there. Now, there's been questions, and we also heard last week that if Will Campbell's there at number 10, the Bears will take him. Again, rumors, we don't know for sure when it comes down to that. But who are some of the other tackles that the Bears could look to draft if tackle is what they want to address in the first round? So some questions about that. We know Genty, Tyler Warren, there's some other positions the Bears could absolutely go in the first round there. But when you look at it, right, Kelvin Banks and Josh Simmons, I think are the guys that I think have the most makes the most sense for the Chicago Bears. Now, both these guys I think you would have to trade down to get unless you just feel that confident. Again, like I said, Josh Simmons is somebody who could rise up if teams feel confident in looking at his medicals and what this health situation looks like. But both Banks and Simmons are 3-year players, right? Very high-end athletes at big schools as well, right? And do have the ability to become really good starting tackles, especially left tackles in this league, right? When you look at Banks, right, the anchor that he has there, the fact that he has really good power as well, right? Brandon Thor, who's a guy that evaluates offensive line talent, noted that Banks has issues with his ability to anchor, which may limit his upside as a left tackle. So, a lot of questions being raised there on the tackles that are going up here. Will they actually be left tackles in this league? And then you look at Josh Simmons, right? You look at what he had 2 years ago as far as the tape that he had at San Diego State, right? And then transferring to Ohio State, and he got hurt, right? And, he got hurt, facing some of the competition that he didn't get to face at San Diego State, something like that, right? So there are definitely teams that are worried about that serious knee injury that he had, but also about the, if the competition that he faced is enough to really evaluate what he's going to project to be at the NFL level. Now, I personally look at Josh Simmons, and I think that he's somebody that, if it wasn't for the health concerns, would make a lot of sense for the Bears at number 10, right? But with the injury concerns, between 15 and 20 is probably where you can get a Josh Simmons at. So if the Bears can trade back and get more assets, Simmons or Banks there at 15 to 20 would make a lot of sense. They'd be slight reaches there at number 10 for the Chicago Bears, but we'll see, right? We'll see. I don't know if number 10's there. And again, that depends then and makes it you go back to and look at, all right, what are the Bears going to be willing to do then? If it's getting the tackle, do they feel confident in somebody they can get in the second round or and draft a different position with their 10th overall pick? Are they in asset acquisition mode to try to acquire more assets to maybe make moves down the road, right? Those are the questions that you have here for this team as things move on. But, I mean, again, this is the luxury that the Chicago Bears have put themselves in, right? They have the ability, if they want to just go out and aggressively get a tackle, they can trade back to do that. Get more assets, it'll make sense for the team. If they want to draft best player available and go tackle later on, they can do that. If they wanted to, which I don't think they'll do, not go tackle, not really worry about too much to tackle, right? Just get the best tackle on the board with one of their second-round picks, whatever it is. If that's what they want to do, they can do that and just see what Braxton's going to look like on an improved offensive line and with better coaching. They've done a lot of that. Now, I'm not saying that anybody's wrong for having the common thought that the Bears need to draft more offensive linemen, because I'm there with you. The Bears need to draft a tackle in this draft, but the way that they go about it, and, you know, we know that Ryan Poles is not one to zig where people think he should zag. He's not been opposed to that over the course of his time running the Chicago Bears. So, you know, there's some outside-the-box options here for the Bears at any position that they can look at, and you can make sense out of it depending on either way that they want to go with it, because, again, this is the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens there, man. We'll see what happens. I think overall it just comes down to how the Bears evaluate the talent. That's the thing that's going to really determine all this, the evaluation of the talent that they have there, what they want to do at 10, how comfortable they feel about a guy like Braxton Jones having another season to start, which Ryan Poles has basically already shown his hand with that. Like, they're not going to allow Braxton to just come in as my light dies, as allow Braxton Jones to just come in unencumbered. He's going to have some challenges there at that tackle position, whether it's somebody who he has to snatch the position back and that's coming in looking like they're going to be the starting tackle from day one, or it's somebody who's going to come in and raise some competition for Braxton over the course of training camp to see what Braxton can bring and the coaches decide. But either way, I think that if the Bears don't go tackle at all here, it's going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think that's necessarily an extreme that's on the board, but we'll see. It's a lot of draft news around the Chicago Bears. We also got that the Bears could trade up for Abdul Carter. Now, I don't know if that's the case here. I think the edge talent in next year's draft, if you don't feel confident in it, is something you can look at. You still got Daniel Hardy. You still got Austin Booker you're looking to develop. But this one comes from Brad Biggs as well. This is why you always got to take things that any insider says with a grain of salt, because Brad Biggs brings up this. For starters, Carter would probably really have to slide for the Bears to have a shot at getting him for the number 10 and one of their second-round picks. They might only be able to get up to number 5 with just one of their second-round picks as teams put a premium on high selections. My hunch is Carter is gone in the first 3 picks, and if he makes it past 4, there's probably concern from multiple clubs about his foot issue. A trade into the top 3 to select Carter would be much costlier than number 10 and a second-round pick. So, you know, listen, Abdul Carter is a great talent, and I like the prospect of Abdul Carter coming here. But I don't see Ryan Poles trading up. I think they need to keep their draft capital, right? I think that's the place that we're in right now. Like, it'd be different if the Bears won last season, right? Well, let's say we were in the second year of Ben Johnson, that we won 8-9 games, we made it to a wild card, and it really looks like that edge that's the thing that can get us over the top, right? But I don't think the Bears are there yet. They brought in Adeyo Odeyingbo. They have Austin Booker, who they were very high on last year, that, you know, they were creative in using. And we got to see how this coaching staff is going to view Austin Booker for sure. But I just don't know if I see the Bears trading draft asset to move up to draft an edge in this draft. Personally, again, I could be wrong. I don't feel I can't say anything's impossible for this Bears team at this current juncture. I just can't say it, but I can say what I personally feel is unlikely, and that's not one that I feel is very likely, but hey, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is there anybody in this draft, right, that if you can trade into getting into the top 4 or 5 picks, with including one of your second-round picks to do that, is there anybody in this draft that you think is worth getting that for what the Chicago Bears need in this draft? Let me know that down below. Last thing before we get out of here, Eric Bieniemy, who's one of the more creative offensive minds and our running back coach, he talked about getting DeAndre Swift involved. He said this: now more than anything, we got to make sure that he understands that he can find 4.5 between the tackles, but also hit the home run when he needs to. Not all of the rushing failures are solely on Swift. So listen, here's what it comes to, right? I know that Bears fans are down on DeAndre Swift. Again, I have my personal opinion on it. I don't think that people should be as down. Like, people talk about Swift like he's some terrible player. He's not. I've gone over the stats on this show before. He's actually in the top half of the league, right, in most statistical categories. The Bears offense just sucked ass last year. And now with a better offensive line, I do think that DeAndre Swift can be better. Now, I still think that Ben Johnson wants to draft a running back. I still think this Bears team is going to draft a running back. Whether that is a long-term, permanent number one starter, right? And DeAndre Swift can play a more complementary role, whether it's 1A, 1B, whatever it is. We'll see what comes from that. But I do think running back is on the menu for the Chicago Bears. But two things can be true at the same time. DeAndre Swift is still going to have an opportunity to show what he can bring here for the Chicago Bears. And I think that he should have that opportunity. I'm not at the spot where I'm looking at it and saying there's absolutely no way that DeAndre Swift should still be the starting running back. I'm not at that. I know some people are like that. I'm not like that. But, that's just what it comes down to for me. I think that overall the Chicago Bears are going to figure it out and that they're going to get their shit together. With this running game and the offense overall, I think we're going to be in a much better spot to really evaluate some of this talent. And some of the guys that you guys are down on, they're going to have a lot of opportunity. But as always, that's my time. You guys can let me know how you feel down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.